apparently have some sort of autoimmune disease. It took them about a year to figure it out, but I haven't had my first appointment yet, so I don't really know what kind of autoimmune diseases I have and how the treatment is. But it totally explains why I've been so tired for a year. I thought it was time change and that I'd just been like traveling so much that I was in one time change and then another really quickly, and then another, and that I just wore myself out. Nope. Started feeling this about April last year. So it's fascinating. Anyway, thinking of that in the way of science, I have two articles I want to write, two Wikipedia articles I want to write about books. The first one was because Adrienne Hill did an interview for the Skeptic Zone, and she did this really terrific interview with a man named David Miles, Miles, and it's called Sneeze. And I said, "Oh, that looks really interesting." I know I'm not always the brightest person in the book and around, but I love books on uh, medical science. I mean, I have absolutely no interest in going into medicine, anything of the sort, but I really have loved articles and books about medicine and how the science behind it and how we got to where we got and that kind of thing. And I guess that's my social historian in me. And I really do think that's fascinating. So, anyway, the book is called, let me get to the true title of it, Sneeze. Where is it? The History and Science of the Common Cold looks into the world of the virus. Looks really interesting. And listening to her interview, and I've read over a few articles, and it's really interesting. Also, we just got just a few minutes ago, brand new Skeptical Inquirer. It's going to have SciCon is going to be freaking amazing for anybody out there who are thinking of going to SciCon in June in Buffalo this year. It is really going to be great. But oh my gosh, I just got this a few minutes ago, and I looked at some of the covers, but I didn't really look at the magazine. I just saw a photo I took. Where is it? Oh, gee, I just saw it. I think it's under Banachek's article about Randy. I took that and wrote an article about it too. Yep, photo credit, Susan Gerbic. Wow. Wow, there's my Mark Edward. God, that was so much fun. A tribute to Randy by the Independent Investigations Group during the amazing meeting in 2011. Photo credit, Susan Gerbic. Wow. Cool beanie babies. So anyway, Mary Roach is going to be at SciCon this year, which is terrific because the woman can't seem to slow down long enough to attend one of the conferences because she's just such a prolific writer. She's a science journalist that writes about fascinating things: Mars, death, psychics, all kinds of stuff. And she was one of the first Wikipedia articles. My hey, cats are feeding. Me too. Hamilton, leave her alone. Oh, you poor little girl. He was biting her head. Oh, they don't fight that often. They're almost 18 years old and they don't fight that often. But oh my gosh. I'm sorry, Imogen. Hamilton picked on you. It's always drama here at Catnip Corner. I don't live on a corner. All right. So when you're writing a Wikipedia article from new, the hardest part for a lot of people, well, is just getting the time to do it. But I got time. The other thing is that um, gathering everything together and so on. And it's not hard when it's a brand new book to write a Wikipedia article the article, you have to prove notability, and that's really a high standard. So, writing a biography of a living person, it's very difficult because you need three very good citations, and those citations need to be in published by a reliable source, which is considered something that has journalistic integrity, that has editorial oversight, and probably itself has a Wikipedia article. And it helps if the person who's the author of the article is also has a Wikipedia page. In other words, is considered notable in a certain area. I mean, you don't want somebody writing, you don't want to rely on the opinion of somebody who has not got expertise in the area they're trying to write in. And when I say write, it doesn't have to be published in a journal or anything of that sort. It could be published in Skeptical Inquirer. In fact, several of these, I turn to the back of these magazines all the time because there are reviews, and journalistic integrity is part. I mean, Skeptical Inquirer has journalistic integrity, and sometimes the people who write the review are also have Wikipedia pages. This is Terrence Hines has written a book about the Ghost Lab, how Bigfoot hunters, mediums, and alien enthusiasts are wrecking science. Okay, so with a book, you only need two reliable sources. So here's one right there. There's number one. That's a reliable source. So if there's another reliable source, then that would then we could write a Wikipedia page about that book, which I've never heard of until a few minutes ago. Here's another one. Can a religion be started with the help of sideshow stunts? This is written by Michelle Ainsworth. Holy Men of the Electromagnetic Age, a Forgotten History of the Occult. Ooh, these look so good. I'll have to read the reviews. Here's Timothy Caulfield, who definitely has a Wikipedia article because we wrote it. Oh, it's written by my friend David Weinberg, Surviving the Information Chaos Storm. Hey, David, shout out to you. I'll be speaking with him in New Mexico really soon at the New Mexico Skeptic Camp the first weekend of May. So if you can get to New Mexico, come to New Mexico. Anyway, so if you're the reliable sources that you can use for a Wikipedia article for a biography of living persons or whatever has to be, and this is so confusing to people, it can't be a brief mention of them. It can't even be a quote about them or a quote from them. It has to be a quantity, a large quantity of the article, whatever it is, about the person. So it can't be, just it can't be anything that's like a advertisement, some journalist, not journalist, some magician or singer or actor or author has mentioned in something. No, it has to be quantity. Now, an exception to that might be like the New York Times bestseller list. If they're quoted on that or, recommended in that top 10 or something, well, then that's going to give more weight to, because the New York Times only selects so many books. Maybe like, anything that's like Oprah Book Club or somebody who has a famous kind of book club. That would be great. That would be wonderful. But you still really need two. Oh, and the author is not, if a person has written a book and there's a recommendation on the New York Times bestseller list, then that's probably going to give the book a Wikipedia page, not the person. So this, like I said, it's super confusing. It can't be just mentions in newspapers and magazines and journals and stuff like that. It has to be quantity. So books are I love books. I absolutely do not get the time to read books like I used to because I always feel super guilty that I'm not writing a Wikipedia article or writing an article for Skeptical Inquirer or doing some kind of sting or something. I feel super guilty. It's a personal problem. So I really enjoyed Adrian's interview with David Miles on Skeptic Zone. So I said, can this have a Wikipedia article? So Adrian and I went back and forth, and she talked to him to see if there was any, because of course the author is going to know if there's something current. I mean, it's a brand new book, so that's the other nice thing is I can get the information right away. I don't have to sit there and search for a long time. You do a Google search and it should come right up within the first few minutes, first few views. So yeah. So we went back and forth, and I found that I think it's notable. It's not going to be a problem at all. I just got to sit down and write it instead of me blabbering on here. But I have done a bunch of work in the background. The other thing I want to do, and hopefully I'll get to this today, if nothing really seriously distracts me, my friend Paulina says she's coming over to hang out in a couple hours. So I might not get to the second book I need to do. It's going to be about, I was talking to Steve Novella and David Gorski about something. And I was going through science-based medicine, and I realized that one of their more prolific uh, authors or writers on the science-based medicine is somebody named Jonathan Howard, who is a neurologist and psychiatrist who has been interested in vaccines since long before COVID-19. He is the author of We Want Them Infected: How the Failed Quest for Herd Immunity Led Doctors to Embrace the Anti-Vaccine Movement and Blinded Americans to the Threat of COVID. That's a hell of a long title. So, so I looked, and that book does not have a Wikipedia article, and there are easily more than two notable citations for that book. So I thought, oh, I should write this one too. And now that I got the newest Skeptical Inquirer, I'm looking at that going, maybe I should write those too. I'm telling you. Oh, yeah, I'm just wiped. All right. So let's go and let me just take a quick glance and see if anybody is watching this. Nope, nobody's watching this. So what else is new? Nobody's watching Susan. I'm just trying to be transparent here, you guys. Okay, so I've done this a bunch of times, and I'm not gonna have you watch the whole thing because it'll take 6 to 10 hours if I explain every little thing. So I'm just gonna give you an update of what I'm gonna do. And that's how I'm gonna do this. And you guys can go look at the Wikipedia page when it's done. If I just sat here and I was feeling great and just did it, I'd be done in maybe 3 hours, maybe less, because I've done many books. It's so funny how many Wikipedia articles I've written, and I can't even remember. I can't remember the names. We went stargazing last night, Monterey County Skeptics. I got a piece of fuzz last night, and it was in Carmel Valley, and it was sponsored by MIRA, Monterey Institute RA Regional, I don't know, MI, anyway, whatever it is. And I got there and I said, oh, I wrote the Wikipedia page for this astronomical society. I thought they really spent a lot more of their time studying sunspots and things like that. But I wrote it years ago. In fact, I went to I wrote to them and I said, I don't have any photos. So to add to this Wikipedia article, can I come and take some photos in your facility? So they let me in, and I went around in their offices and took pictures of like the library and, where they do lectures and stuff like that, and so that I'd have something to put in the Wikipedia article. I completely forgot that until I got there last night. I'm like, oh, this sounds familiar. You just, I don't know. Okay, so what I'm going to do first, I'm going to show you how I think this through and how I go about doing this, and then we'll be done. Okay. So one of the books I wrote, and this is what I usually do, is I take a book that I have, whatever it is. If I'm writing a Wikipedia article about a person, then I look at like the last person that I wrote about. Or if it's a movie, which I just wrote about Capturing Bigfoot, which is a documentary that has not come out yet, I wrote that Wikipedia article. If there was another one, oh, here comes my cat. You be nice to her. You sit down nice like a good 900-year-old man by now. She's sleeping, so leave her alone. Anyway, I take whatever the last Wikipedia page that I've completely rewritten or written new and use it as a template. And that's how I do it. I just copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. So here is the editing screen for Mind the Science. And yes, it's colorful for all those people out there who are not colorblind. You can see that there's purple and yellow and green and black and white on what you're seeing in the code. And this is because I have turned on a syntax highlighting, which is really cool. And that's part of our training for GSOW. If you ever want to learn how to edit Wikipedia, this is part of the training. I tell everybody to turn this syntax on because it makes it easier to see what you're looking at and to find errors and things. It's really cool. So this is Jonathan Stea's book about the wellness industry. And what you're seeing right here is the info box, this yellow right here. That's what that appears on the right-hand side of a Wikipedia article. And then this is a short description up here. Short description is what you would see if you were in an internet search, or you know how you're starting to type something into a internet search and it comes out with like a description. Oh, do you mean the physicist who died in 2022, the American physicist who died in 2022, known for popcorn or whatever it is? It's that little string that comes out whenever you do a quick Google search or internet search on your phone. Alexa will sometimes, or Siri will sometimes say these things. That's short description, and that's written up, and you can see it's written in a certain way. It has to be very short and well thought out. So in the info box, you've got all these kinds of things that you can put in here. You can put the book cover, which I can't put in the article that I'm writing right now because that's one of the last things I can do. Just rules on Wikipedia. You've got the name of the book, who the author is, the language, what the subject is, release date, publisher, page numbers, ISBN number, preceded by, followed by, that kind of thing. So this is something I'm going to fill in a minute. So I'm going to I made a copy of this. I copied this and I went over to my sandbox. So here's my sandbox. And what I did, I can get rid of that. That was for the documentary I did. And I pasted the short description and the info box for Jonathan Stea in my sandbox. So I'm not publishing this right now. A sandbox is a place you work. It's like a private place for each editor. Here's my name's S. Gerbic. I'm very public on Wikipedia. And it's like a blank piece of paper. And so I'm going to be doing a lot of writing down here at the bottom, as I go. But as I find information about the book, like the ISBN number, how many pages, when it was released, I'm going to remove it from here. In fact, I should just go ahead and remove the cover and the JPEG because I don't have that right now. And I will just replace it as I go through here. All right. So like I know his name is David Miles and it's English. And then I'll just go through this as I go and wipe it out. So that's to me is the easiest way of doing things. And I've learned how to edit Wikipedia with this tactic. Not everybody does it the same way I do, but this is how I do it. Because if you've done it right before, then you just copy and paste and just change out the information. It's not a lot of thinking about it. Okay, and I'm going to hit preview so you can see what this looks like. All right, so obviously it says the name. And when I wrote this, I think I got to go back and look. I have a feeling that it changed. This is what I titled the article, but I think it got changed to just Mind the Science, and this was all taken out. So with the Sneeze book, I'm probably just going to call it Sneeze. And then the rest of the part will not be at the title. I think that's how I'm going to do it. I can't quite be sure. See, I've already put David Miles up here, English. And this all down here is going to have to be changed, right? So this is just a sandbox. It's not, like I said, it's not public. You can't see it until I make it public. All right, so the other thing I want to do, this green box right here is something that I use in GSOW. It's a style of editing that I use and I train because I think it's neater. When you look at a Wikipedia article, if you're looking at the edit screen like you're doing right now, I have all the references down at the bottom, the full references, and then into the body of the article, I just have these little areas that it's like citations referring, it says Andrew's interview. And if you come down here, you'll see the Andrews interview. And here's the citation. Oops, right there. There's a citation with all the information. Traditional Wikipedia editors, and this is very common in Wikipedia, is they put the citation, they put all this information right here, all of that, they put into the body. Like it'll say the harm medical pseudoscience, and then it'll have all that content, that whole several sentences of citation right there. And you can't see it when you're reading the Wikipedia article. It'll just have a number. But if you're an editor, you'll see this, and it just looks like it's just so confusing. Like, okay, here's something I'm going to be using, the common cold unit. I have pulled this up and I've read it because I'll be referring to it. We did not write this, but if I click on edit, look at what it looks like. So you've got the citations right there in the middle of the body of the article. So the unit overtook laboratory and epistological research on the common cold between 1946 and 1989 and produced 1,006 papers. And then all this other, so that's all you see when you read the Wikipedia page. But all this is just gobbledygook sitting in here. And then down here, and then that's all citation. And then it says the unit studied it studied AETIOLOG. This is a code. Epistemology, prevention, and treatment of common colds. And then here's the whole citation again. So I don't like this. I think it's bulky, it's unattractive, it's distracting. It makes finding errors and fixing errors difficult for editors. So I don't use this style. I don't teach this style, but that is most common. It makes it very difficult for new users to go in and fix a mistake. It's very intimidating looking. So what I'm going to do, here's Mind the Science. So here's the code that you use for a book. All right. So I'm going to copy this over to my sandbox. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy more or less, and I'm going to put the name of the book. I like to copy and paste. Less spelling errors. I'm going to have to go to, I know it's a sneeze, but where's the whole title? Sneeze. Great title, isn't it? There's many things I could have already sitting here awake and just on my computer screen so that it makes it easier for me. No, I never think enough. I did get everything archived before I started this feed. Yeah, if I felt better, I would probably, well, no, if I felt better, I'd be running around doing a lot more physical stuff. So I was gonna say, I would not be doing more editing. All right. So this is my sandbox. So I'm going to take out this. I'm going to paste this. Sneeze, the history and science of the common cold. And these little guys here are going to bold it, make it bold. It's a 2025 or is it 2026? It is a 2026. Audible release is April 28th in the United States. I wonder if he's the one who did the audiobook hardcover. So it's saying April 28th, 2026, but I'm looking at Amazon. So this would be America. So I'm going to have to double check this release date. Put this here, put that there. It's a 2026 book by, I wrote this down. I won't be able to spell it right. Uh, infectious. All right, infectious disease immunologist, and I'll have to figure out where he's at. Okay, so I just go through. This is how I do it again, and I go through it. I just change all this stuff to whatever it is. I know it's not super creative or anything like that, but then again, Wikipedia is not a something that's done, and people can go and look later. You know, they can fix later whatever it is that they don't like that I've done, and it's not published in paper or anything like that. Okay, the other thing I'm going to do, I've read through all the citations I'm planning on using. I'll show you what they are in a minute. Going back over here, so I'm going to do a synopsis. These equal signs make it into like a category. So there will be a synopsis. There will be a background, and the background is going to be really small because there's not a lot out about that. But Adrian's interview with David Miles, is going to have a lot of the background. It'll say that he said in the interview, and this is more likely you're going to hear this in an interview. He said that he's an infectious disease immunologist, and he spent 10 years in various parts of Africa researching, and he came back to Britain and realized that there's a lot of confusion about infectious infectious diseases. So kind of that's going to be the background of the book. And then he's going to talk about how I'll probably put a sentence or two about how he went to the common cold unit and in Strasbourg, UK, Strasbourg, someplace in England, and he looks at the research that they have done over, several decades on the common cold, and that's pretty much the background. And if more comes out later, well, then we add more. Okay, reception is where I'm going to put all the reviews, and I have 3 reviews. So of course I'm going to have more space here, but I'm just putting it like this for now. Okay, then I have this section. This is references. And I need to close that loop with this. So all the citations I'm going to use, I'm going to put here, because remember how I said I want them all in a neat place. So they're all going to go right in this little area. And then I may have external links, which might be to, I don't know, another interview that I don't use in the article. External links might or might not be there. And then there's going to be an area that's got let's see what's under. Yeah, this category down here, you can see this. So there'll be an area that has categories, but I can't put this in. I can't add these in until the article I've written is live. So now that I'm working in a sandbox, I'm just doing this. So here's the books that here's the articles I'm going to be using. Let me see if this is catching up to where I'm at. All right. So here are the ones I'm using. Microbiology Australia did a book review. This guy's name is Ross Barnard. I wonder if he has a Wikipedia article. As I said, if they have a Wikipedia article, it's a little more, it carries a little more weight. I'm using my other screen over here to see if Ross, T-B-A-R-N-A-R-D. has a Wikipedia article, and he does not. All right. So, but this is a journal article, and it is in Microbiology Australia. So this should be fine as one of the two citations I need in reliable sources. So here it is. I've read it through. I think I know what I'm going to do, what I'm going to use. And oh, see, here's the ISBN number. Here's the published date, March 16th, 2026 by August Books. Okay, so that's a better date than what I have on Amazon, because Amazon America is only showing the America release. So it's going to be March 16th, 2026. So I'll change that. The other book the review I'm using, no, look at those guts. This is the Salisbury Journal, which is a reliable source. It's a legitimate source, has journalistic integrity. It has a quantity of, the whole article is about the book. So this, to be clear, I cannot write David Miles's Wikipedia article. I don't think there's enough reliable sources existing out there for me to be able to do it. Yeah, I know he's a writer, he's probably brilliant, and he's a doctor of infectious diseases or whatever. So not notable. Just because he might be an awesome person and maybe his dog loves him very much does not mean he can have a Wikipedia article. Biographies of living human beings, it's very difficult to write a Wikipedia page about. So that's what's going on. But I can write his books Wikipedia page. Okay, the author, Isaac Maddock, does not have a Wikipedia page. So then I've read through this. And this has information that I'm going to be using on the Wikipedia page, plus pictures of men's guts. This article right here from Popular Science is a blog. See how it says in the URL blogspot.com? So I cannot use this as something to put on the article to prove notability for the book, because it's a blog, and a blog does not have journalistic integrity. It's a blog. So this is not an article I can use to prove that the Wikipedia article should be written. But I can use this because Brian Craig, who is the author of this blog, is notable himself. And he's notable as a popular science writer. So his expertise is in the field that he's reviewing the book on. I mean, if Brian Craig was a chef, then he shouldn't be reviewing a book on viruses, anything scientific, right? If he is a horse trainer, he shouldn't be writing a review. I mean, that wouldn't count. Even if he had a Wikipedia page because he's an awesome chef or a horse trainer, it still wouldn't count. I wouldn't be able to use it because he was not an expert on the topic he's writing about. And by expert, I mean he's noted. He has a Wikipedia article. He's a noted expert in this field. Okay. So I can use this review, which is great because it is a negative review about the book. It's not horribly negative. He's just kind of complaining that there's not an index, or maybe the other guy was complaining about there not being an index. Anyway, this guy, Craig, has some problems with what Miles says about the virus. It's technical. I don't understand it. I don't need to understand it. I'm just going to be quoting Brian Craig. I'm going to be quoting him in the review. So I'm also going to use the Skeptic Zone. Now, the Skeptic Zone is a reliable source in that it is Richard Saunders has editorial control over the Skeptic Zone. Adrian does not have a Wikipedia page, but Richard Saunders does. And also the Skeptic Zone is part of Richard Saunders' Wikipedia page. This would not prove notability. So again, to prove that the Wikipedia page can exist, I need two reliable sources. And the Australian one and the journal in Salisbury are going to prove that for me. This podcast is going to fill in some details, some biographical details, some quotes, some other things that Adrian asked him that I can use in the Wikipedia article, but I have to attribute it to the Skeptic Zone and the interview that was done. So this is kind of confusing, but what I'm trying to say is that when you're writing a Wikipedia page for a book, you need two reliable sources, and those two reliable sources need to be someplace that has editorial control with journalistic integrity. And once you have those two, and they're written about the whole book, not like a quick mention of the book, then you have the two citations you need to write a Wikipedia article. And that's wonderful. And if it was a human being who's living, you need three. So it's a little harder. Books, people write reviews on books. So, it's not that hard. If it was mentioned in Skeptical Inquirer, I could use that. So the other two sources I'm going to use, the blog written by that Craig person, I will use that. I can use it only because Craig is notable and has a Wikipedia page. If it was just a blog written by somebody who nobody, some person, I couldn't use it really. And then I'm using the Skeptic Zone as a way of filling in some of the details to the Wikipedia page to make it a little more, have some more oomph to it, because I can do that. If Daniel Miles does an interview like on YouTube, that's produced on YouTube, and it's David Miles talking about his book, I can use that also. Any kind of interview he does. Now, it does not prove notability. I'm hoping I'm making that distinction to the 0 people who are watching this right now. But the distinction is that you first have to have evidence that the Wikipedia page is notable enough to have a Wikipedia page. The book is notable enough to have a Wikipedia page. That has to be proved. I have the proof, 2 articles. Then you can use other things to fill in the details. Now, why is it that an interview with David Miles is usable in the Wikipedia page? I hear you asking me. It's because it's coming from his mouth, and it's like a primary source. Wikipedia normally doesn't use primary sources, but in the case of an author talking about their book, that's okay, as long as we're not going into some wild, unprovable and just out of the, no kind of statements. Like if he had said, my book has made the New York Times bestsellers list, and there's no citation that I can find that verifies that, even though he said it, I can't write that on the Wikipedia page. That would be unethical, because that's not true. If he said, I sold 10 million copies in the first press, then I can't write that, even though he said it. If he said, I wrote it when I was 2 years old, okay, that's not plausible, and none of the articles mention that. So no, I can't write that on the Wikipedia page. So what he says about the book has to be reasonable, has to be, common sense. So kind of makes you wonder about AI. At what point are we able to, AI is not going to replace Wikipedia, at least not anytime soon. I have zero worry about AI and Wikipedia. There's other people who are dealing with that, but I really don't, because you have to have a human person vetting all this stuff and having these videos I'm doing that nobody watches. These are my thought process as I try to explain to you, the nobody who's watching, why I'm doing it and my thoughts as I go about it, because I think it's relevant. I think it's important to, if you're interested in this kind of topic, why is a Wikipedia page written? Why is one not written? I'll try not to go too far into this tangent, but I get that people say they a lot. Why don't they do this, meaning Wikipedia? Why don't they do that? They didn't write one about this book, but they wrote it about that book, or they wrote it about this person, but not that person. Look, there is no they. Okay. It's just me and the thousands of other editors out there and the 75 or so people on GSOW. We don't have a list of things we're doing. We just come across something. We think it's interesting. We say, I was looking for a project to do on a nice day whenever I'd rather stay inside because I'm really, really tired. I that sounds really good. I think I'll write it about that interview, that book Sneeze that Adrian did an interview with, and it was really interesting. And that's how it's done. It's just you come across something, you listen to a lecture, you watch a documentary, you read a book, you see a headline in the newspaper, a review somewhere, and you just go, "Oh, that's interesting. I think I'll look into that and see if I can see if there is a Wikipedia page, and can I write one? Is there enough citations? Is there enough to proof out there?" The other thing that is very, 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 very common and people do not realize is that I do not need to read the book. I don't need to own it. I don't need to read it. In fact, it's better if I don't. Okay. Because the Wikipedia article I'm writing is not about Susan Gerbich's opinion of a book that she read. Nobody cares about that. I am no expert on infectious diseases. I like to read. I love reading, but I am no expert on it. I could write a review and put it up on my social media, and everybody can go, "Oh, that sounds interesting. I think maybe I'll pick up that book that Susan was talking about." But no, I can't put my opinion into the Wikipedia article. And oh my gosh, this is like the criticism I get the most from the world of paranormal and everybody else is that they think that I not an expert, not a scientist, not trained as a baby photographer for 34 years at a department store. What the heck? Why do I have such power that I can write a Wikipedia article about a subject that means so? This Wikipedia article will mean a lot to this person and hopefully boost their book sales. Maybe. Why do I have all that power? Why am I allowed to do that? And it's because I learned how to do this. There's nobody who points me. I'm doing it because I want to, because I've done it a bunch of times. And when I publish it, other editors who I don't even know will come in and go, "Yeah, that looks good. Okay, let me change the spelling over here. Let me change the grammar. Oh, this should be probably here, or this sentence was unclear. Let me fix all that. Okay, it's fine now." And then another citation will come in and he'll do an interview, or somebody will do the book will get another review, and they add it to the Wikipedia article. And nobody asks my permission. It just gets added in. It's not my article. It's just, I started it. So the article that you're writing is not your opinion. It is it's a secondary opinions of people who are notable, who have expertise in the area. Or maybe in books or in science or in viruses. Those people are writing about the book, and then that is what I'm quoting them. Now, in my opinion, there is some opinion because I have to go and I have to do a synopsis. I'm going to do a paragraph, maybe 2 paragraphs, that sums up the book. So that has to be my words. So I am only doing that because I've read the reviews of the book, and I'm going to be pulling from the reviews. So if somebody says that it's missing the index, and they really would have liked to have had an index because then it'd be a really good reference book, I can write, there is no index. If somebody says the book is broken into 3 main parts, the first part is about this, the second part is about this, and the third part is about this, remedies of the common cold and how they've been addressed throughout history. And the second one's like maybe science of studies that have been done to study the actual disease. And maybe the first part of the book is like, what is the common cold? How long has it existed? And the reviewers wrote that. So I'm just going to be saying in the synopsis that I write, the book is broken into three main parts: this one, and this one. It lacks an index. According to reviewer blah, 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 they said that if the book had had an index, it would be more of a reference book. But according to the author in the Skeptic Zone interview, he said he wanted to keep the book to be something that the average person could enjoy and not get too technical. But there's enough technical information in there that hopefully people who are scientists or interested in the subject will be able to get something out of. See, that's my words, but I'm summing up what the reviewer said. So I don't want people to, still nobody watching. I don't want people who work on books to be experts on the book and have read the book. A lot of people do. They'll say, oh, I want to read the book. I'm getting the book from the library. I'm waiting for the book to be delivered, or I'm trying to finish the book. And I'm like, you don't need to read the book. And they say, I know, but it was really interesting. Okay, that's fine. But you just got to be careful that when you sum it up, that you're really relying on the reviews. Because again, it's not the editor's opinion of the book. That's not in there. I choose what I'm going to put in here. Like, I'm going through the interview that Adrian did, made a lot of notes, and I listened to it. It's the 2 or 3 times I've listened to this interview, and I try to sum it up because I can't quote the whole darn thing. I'm not putting a transcript in there. I will cite and say, if you're really interested in this, you go, here's a citation to go to the link to it. And I'm going to put, I have to reread through this again, but I made a lot of notes, but I think I'm going to put that Adrian asks him a question. She says, in your first book, you used a lot of stories to tell. You told a lot of stories in the first book that you wrote about vaccines. And do you do the same thing in this book? And he says, yes, I do. I find it a really good way of he used a word like storytelling, but it wasn't storytelling. He used this phrase, and I found that a good way of making the story, make it more readable for people, more engaging. And he says, including the story of Calvin Coolidge, President Calvin Coolidge, who had a cold, and he's really miserable by it. So he had himself put in a chamber, and it was flooded with chlorine gas. And Adrian's like, what? He goes, I know. It didn't kill him, but Calvin Coolidge said it fixed his cold. And then Miles, David Miles says, yeah, it probably fixed his cold because, he had to say that because he was president and he didn't want to backtrack on what he said. And what ended up happening is, for a while, there was a trend. I'm trying to find out my notes. Maybe it's on the other page. There was a trend that, here it is. There was a fad called the chlorine killer cold bomb that people would do based on Calvin Coolidge getting gassed with chlorine. And then Miles says, please don't use chlorine to cure a cold. It will not work, and it might do real harm. It was the same stuff they used in chemical weapons during World War I. So I'm going to add that in too. It's just just listening to Adrian and reading these reviews. I really want to read this book, but I've got like a backload of books that I haven't touched. I dust them, and that's as far as I get. But I've got thousands of books here in my house, and I have not read them. I get part of the way, and then I say, oh, I should be doing something else. This is riveting. I'm just talking to myself. Welcome to my life. Now that Mark's gone, it's just me, and I find myself talking to myself or explaining things. And then I stop and I say, who are you talking to, Susan? There's nobody here. And the cats are asleep and they don't care. All they hear is the word food. That's all they know. Or treat. There's nobody here to hear the sound of my voice, but that's okay. I'm just talking to myself. Maybe somebody will listen to this and find it interesting and they'll say, ah, that's how Wikipedia articles are written. Oh, maybe Adrian will send us to that guy, David Miles, and he'll go, no, no, she shouldn't be doing that. That's wrong. What is she thinking? That's not what I was saying. She's got it all wrong. Oh, well, I love this. I'm going to say this because there's nobody listening anyway. So Adrian asks him, what are some of the common, because everybody's got a way of curing the cold, right? Or not catching a cold. And she asked him like the weirdest thing he said. Let me see. Let's be over here. Where it was the weirdest thing that he found. And he called it the two hat problem. I don't know if you've heard of this because I'd never heard of it, but apparently it goes back to the 1600s or something in Britain. So the two hat problem is what you're supposed to do to cure your common cold. You guys sitting down out there? All none of you. So this problem is what you're supposed to do when you have a cold. This is the advice that he'd heard. You take your hat and you put it on the end of your bed, on the bedstead, on the bedpost. And you get in bed and you drink alcohol until there are two hats on the bedstead. That's how you get rid of your cold. You drink yourself drunk, and I guess you sleep through it or something. I don't know. And then I guess when you have your hangover afterwards, you feel so miserable you've forgotten about your cold. I don't know, but I thought it was pretty funny. The other things that he had said is that how long has the cold virus existed? And he said for 30,000 years, they found baby teeth for males that they were able to extract a cold virus from the tooth. But he says the cold couldn't have existed that long because we were still hunter and gatherers back then. And the cold virus needs to have a population. So you can't get a cold on your own without having people around you to spread it from, So if you're just like three of you guys and nobody has contact with any other human beings, that's not going to work. So it was only whenever we became farmers and we became, working where we're working, I guess, in villages and you have closer contact with a larger pool of people who possibly have contact with people in other villages. And when that started happening, then that's when colds started to become something that we would have in that we're used to. So he says it's probably 10 to 15,000 years ago whenever there was the first cold, which is really interesting. Anybody plays trivia with me? This is a good category. This would be a really interesting category on the common cold, according to David Miles. So he says the most important thing the best advice he has for getting over a cold. Man, somebody's watching this. Oh my gosh. They're probably there for a second. So the one person who's watching this, whoever you are, just FYI, this is the advice he gives to get rid of a cold. Okay. You are sitting down, right? I know you are. Okay. The best advice is to alleviate the symptoms. So take what is it called? Where I have it written down. It doesn't mean it's spelled correctly. Decongestions. Take somewhere here. Take the stuff that actually works to reduce the symptoms. The thing you take before you go to sleep, do that, because he says if you can alleviate your symptoms, you will have a better night's sleep. And if you have a better night's sleep, you're more likely to feel better the next day and be able to function better. So it's not going to cure the duration of your cold, but it will make you feel better, and it'll lessen the misery you go through with a cold, if that makes any sense. Painkillers, decongestants, and he gave a name of some kind of decongestion that actually worked, but I didn't write it down because I wasn't going to use it in the Wikipedia article. But there was some kind of decongestant that is the best that he recommends. But we don't want to talk about that there. So it won't reduce the duration, but it will make you less miserable while you have it. And that makes total sense, which is, you think about it, thinking about why, see, the person who's watching is gone. Well, at least I got their advice. The why it is that the cold only spread, it evolved or whatever because we were with a lot of other people. So if you got a cold, don't venture out. Call in sick if you can. Just don't go to places where you're going to spread it. Wear a mask if you have to, but do your best to stay home, and then that will make your life better, because of course it's going to be better for you, but also because your workplace won't have a bunch of sick people in it, and then when they go out sick, then you have to pick up their workload, right? So it's better just to not be around people. And this always bothers me, and since nobody's watching, this is one of those tangents I had. When I was in elementary school, people would get awards for not missing school, right? They'd have or work, not missing work days. And people really got into it. They're like, I'm at year 2, I've never missed a day of work, or I've never missed a day of school. And that's something to brag about. No, 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 no. That is not a good award to be giving out. That is a horrible award to be giving out. You should not be honoring people to come to work sick or come to school sick. That's not good. So unless you're going to be completely isolated and you've got your mask on, your hands are washed all the time, and you're not interacting with people, I don't think that's a great thing. And people need time out to do, days where you can just chill out and write Wikipedia articles, right? Okay, so I think I'm ready to write this article. Jeez, it's 1:00, 1:20. I think I can sit down and write this. This should go fast-ish. Let's see what time Paulina will be over here in about an hour. So I don't know how far I'll get, but check back if you want, if you find this interesting. And I'll send this video over to my cabal so that they can have, those people who are newer can watch this idea of how to write the Wikipedia article and see how I do it. So in the amount of time I've been speaking, I could have just written the article. Probably I would be more than halfway done, but I'm trying to explain it, and I feel like I need to have somebody to talk to, even if it's just myself. Okay. So let me get on it. You guys take care. I will put up on Facebook and probably Twitter, and I'll post that I've written this Wikipedia article, and people can go look at it and go, cool.